Okay, let's see if I did this correctly. Can everybody see me? Making sure I navigated that fancy countdown feature I just found. Ah, man. Let's see. Says I'm on. Must be. Must be. All right. Well, welcome, everybody. I'm glad I've got some people to chat with tonight. Yay, I'm so excited. Moon's here, Pam's here, Mickey's here, Amy's here. What's up, Amy? Awesome. So, guys, I'm here in the studio back in sweet home Alabama. So happy to be back. So happy. Man, it's been a rough 2 weeks going through the Boilermaker boot camp. Rough. I don't think I've ever sweated that much in my entire life. But got to learn a lot, so that's cool. And like I said, finally back home. So, awesome. Life is good. All right, guys, quick little disclaimer for future reference for everybody. Just so y'all know, I love all of y'all. You my favorite peeps. Might not be everybody's slice of spam, but that's just because I'm Hawaiian. So, disclaimer out of the way. Let's see here. So the general plan tonight, I plan on going through the official timeline of what happened here in Fyffe as best I can. Now, if you've ever caught me in any of my interviews, you'll know that I'll always reference it and be like, hey, go check it out. It's on Google, right? But on my show, I like to spoil you. I'm going to do some reading for you. So just overlook me being a little bit unprofessional and not sharing the screen and stuff like that. Because honestly, it was a little difficult to find it again. Like, normally, I've never had a problem finding the actual website by the detective from Fyffe and all that and finding his stuff, but I couldn't find it anywhere now. So I don't know what's going on with that. I was able to find basically like a transcript of where he was interviewed. And, we'll go over that. And then, of course, we'll get into like the official timeline of things. So, well, not the official, but, the unofficial, like the what really happened type stuff. And we'll go from there. See how much we can get into. Also, guys, please try to just overlook me a little bit. Ever since I got home, I've been kind of coughing my head off. I feel like I'm trying to get sick. I mean, I'd rather it be now than then, but still kind of sucks. But anyways, so let's see. Oh yeah, the business. Good call, Mickey. I haven't been able to tell you guys to do that. Make sure y'all hit the like. Help a brother out. If you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe. I'm a pretty cool dude. Most of the time. So, anyways, enough of that. Let's get into being a little bit unprofessional and looking at this phone so I can read this to you guys. All right, let's see here. First, let's see here. Gonna read an article about it from abovetopsecret.com. Also, It is referenced a little bit in the book Hunt for the Skinwalker. So if you guys are, fans of Skinwalker Ranch show and all that, you might want to check out the book about it from, the NIDS team and all that. And you'll hear a little bit about it there too. And it would be awesome if I could figure out how to not keep shaking my mic, or not my mic, my camera. Guess I need to work on my posture. Anyways, I warned y'all I'd be a little unprofessional, so sorry about that. Anywho, let's get in it. All right. Colorado was not alone in witnessing the resumption of cattle mutilations. Officials in Alabama say 32 mutilations occurred since October in 2 northeastern counties. The cow's udders had been cut off cleaner than you could cut with a razor. I've been ranching most of my life, and I've seen animals that predators hot a hold of. Typo. Do better, guys. I'm assuming get a hold of. But anyways, I'd be willing to bet my life it was no predator, said Jimmy Pope, a Geraldine, Alabama rancher whose cow was found in a pasture 500 feet from his house. Side note, Geraldine is actually where I graduated from back in 2007. Pretty sure I know who this feller is. But anyways, the cow had an oval-shaped cut on her shoulder where skin and hair had been removed. There was no blood nowhere, and the mouth had been cut in an oval shape, and the teeth had been removed surgically. While removal of specific organs in DeKalb County and Marshall County cases is similar to 2 incidents last November in Costilla and Los Animas counties in southern Colorado, the Alabama cases have produced some new twists. Tissue samples from one Alabama cow examined underneath a microscope by Denver pathologist Dr. John Altschuler? Maybe. Anyways, showed that the blood around the cut tissue had been cooked, indicating temperatures of at least 300 degrees, I'm assuming Fahrenheit, had been used to make or cauterize the cuts. All traces of a chemical substance, also traces of a chemical substance were found at the scene of the mutilation, according to Fyffe Police Officer Ted Oliphant. I've been calling him Greg, so I got that information wrong, but the Oliphant part's right. And what they don't have is it's Ted Oliphant the Third. Anyways, let's see here. Hold on. Computer's giving me the business. Stop. All right, here we go. Let's see here. We found a white substance on a cow's right rib cage and on the ground next to it. I put it into a plastic wrapper, and back at the office, when I touched some of it with the metal tip of my pen, it turned into liquid within 1 second. To put the rest on a piece of paper, we sent it to a molecular biologist for analysis and found it was composed of aluminum, titanium, oxygen, and silicone. This is not a substance that occurs in nature, said Mr. Oliphant. The Alabama mutilations fit the classic pattern, officials say. It varies from animal to animal, but generally the same things are taken. Sex organs are removed from the oval incision, rectums are cored out, tongues are cut out, jaws stripped to the bone, milk sacs are removed, sometimes a very large incision, and internal organs are taken, said Mr. Oliphant. Pope said he was awakened by his barking Labrador retriever about 3 a.m., interesting time, but looked outside and saw nothing. His neighbor 3 miles away told Pope he had seen a low-flying helicopter late that night. We've got helicopters in about 90% of these cases, either reported by the farmers themselves on their neighbors, said Mr. Oliphant. They're these light blue with gray bottom Bell Jet Rangers with no markings on them. We don't know who's running these things, but they're pushing their luck. The farmers are driving around with high-powered rifles in their trucks. End quote. And then the fellow that wrote this little article here on Above Top Secret basically confirms, hey, I used to live here, and this is very true. Very true. He himself had seen multiple things in the sky and even saw a UFO during the daytime. So, that is Above Top Secret. And let's see what's going on in the chat before I move on. Ah. Yeah. 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 Wise, wise words there, Moon. Wise words. All right. Let's see here. So, the next bit is very long, and I'm not going to go through all of it. I'm going to spare y'all with that. But there's basically 2 interviews that the man did. The first one is basically talking about mad cow disease, right? Which is ultimately what, like, on Mr. Oliphant's website, he comes to at the end is like, this is all, in my personal opinion, the government doing testing on mad cow disease. Okay, that explains the helicopters, but not the UFOs because they're not the same. I mean, I remember hearing descriptions of something being boomerang shaped, sombrero shaped, which is kind of neat. I mean, I know the one that I saw was a classic silver disc. Bob Seeger. No, Miss Mickey, I did not say nothing about Bob. But if you have something interesting about Bob that I should mention, then let me know. Might be a cool cat. All right. So yeah, the first interview is basically talking about that. The second one goes into more of like the description of things that happened. And I'm going to try and pick out some of the more interesting bits for you guys. So, there's interesting things finding trace residue on the cows for actual drugs, like as far as like tranquilizers and whatnot. But all the drugs that were found were not animal grade, which is raising some red flags. Goes in talking about some of the black budget stuff, talking about how during the AIDS epidemic, there was a black budget portion of things set aside specifically to be testing for mad cow disease. So, interesting. Interesting. I mean, I'm not going to say it has nothing to do with it. I mean, it seems kind of convenient to me. But, too many Metallica concerts. I hear you. Oh, I hear you. Hey, Freaky Geek, what's up, buddy? Amy says, our ranchers are one of the last bastions of America. They preserve land from urban sprawl while feeding us. Every lost cow is about 15 to 2K. I'm guessing these aren't registered cows. No, no, not unless somebody wants to be really hoity-toity about their cows. I mean, there's a couple of registered like Angus herds in this general area that I'm aware of, but yeah, I mean, we're not too interested about that. We're more interested in making cows and making money. So quickly. So but it does exist. Yes, yes. Let's see here. All right, so this is from Mr. Oliphant. I hope this, well, let's just send it, whatever. In 1993, I got a call from a man who told me that if I went to a certain place on a certain evening, I would see several helicopters land and refuel. He was right. Well after dark, two Chinook helicopters landed in the field behind some trees and carrying black plastic fuel bladders. Minutes later, several smaller scout helicopters landed nearby. Shut down and crews from the Chinooks walked over with large hoses and refueled each of a half dozen helicopters. The whole operation took less than 30 minutes, and the Chinook helicopters took off. I need to make this bigger. And headed across the border, where we tracked them to their home base, Fort Campbell, Kentucky. Now we knew who they were, but we couldn't figure out why they refueled on Sand Mountain. The next morning, a reporter, Stephen Smith from Rainsville Weekly Post, called the public affairs officer, Captain William Gibbons of the 101st Airborne, and asked if they might have been in the area the previous evening. We have no aircraft in your area. It wasn't us, said the captain. Sorry. It certainly was. So, we knew then that some kind of secret operation was being conducted, but we didn't know what it was. We still don't. But when you look at each piece of evidence and try to use them as a puzzle pieces, which is what you do with puzzles, these so-called cattle mutilations might be associated with government studies of epidemiology, with BSE and CJD and many other diseases being so devastating. It is possible that many alleged cases of cattle mutilations are actually evidence of our tax dollars at work. Sorry, guys. All right, let's see here. Let me scan through this. This might be good. When unmarked helicopters were witnessed by local farmers and law enforcement officers, Albertville Police's chief of detectives, Tommy Cole, called in the Federal Aviation Administration to investigate. Little fun fact, if I'm not mistaken, pretty sure that will play a role later. If you look Mr. Cole up on Facebook, you'll see that he passed away a couple years ago. Rest in peace, brother. You also see a lot of Masonic imagery. So that'll tie into my stuff a little later, too. All right, let's see here. Detective Cole had lost a cow to the phantom surgeons, and his wife had seen an unmarked helicopter over their pasture January 8th, 1993, the day before they discovered one of their black Angus steers mutilated. An FAA investigator came to Albertville, and Cole took him for a ride in his police car. The FAA investigator was skeptical until unmarked helicopter flew near them. The FAA investigator couldn't believe his own eyes and pulled out a handheld radio and hailed the helicopter. The pilot didn't respond and ignored demands to identify himself. This infuriated the FAA investigator, who had now reversed his skepticism. He was able to trace a helicopter to Maxwell Air Force Base in southern Alabama, right there next to Anniston. When he launched an inquiry at the base, he was immediately told to drop it and never talk about it again. A week later, Chief Detective Cole received a call after midnight. It was the FAA investigator. It seems that while out in a boat on nearby Lake Gunnersville, which is a great place to go fish and visit, he and his family had witnessed a large triangle-shaped craft flying maneuvers above them. I wonder if he ever reported that to his supervisors. Let's see here. Blah, 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 blah. Eh. Blah, blah, blah. Sorry, guys. Scanning through. Hmm. Talking about his contact, Phil. It's a very interesting read. Let's see here. I'll just scroll all the way to the top and I'll start redirecting y'all. It's rense.com. It says Sightings, UFO Mutilations, Mad Cow Disease, and the U.S. Government by Ted Oliphant III. Submitted by Daryl Sims. So good job on that. And that's enough. Now I'm tired of staring at that little tiny writing. So yeah, there's a little bit of the information straight from the cow's mouth. But anyways, let's see here. Are they harvesting? Are they harvesting the reproductive organs of cattle to experiment, develop gestation options of other life forms? Amy asks. If you want my personal opinion of it, Amy, I'm gonna say most definitely. Most definitely. Get my arms off this and stop shaking the camera. Come on, Fisher. All right. So I'm gonna say yeah. That's just my personal opinion. I have little to no evidence to back that up, unless you count my CE5 stuff and what an an alien told me about it. So, but we'll see if we can't get into that. All right. So, ooh, a super blue moon. That's cool. Cool, cool. It's on full for 3 days from Sunday morning through early Wednesday morning. Oh, that's cool, moon. Awesome. All right. So, yep. The Mr. Oliphant was the one that was tasked by the Alabama Cattlemen Association to look into this, and his partner in it was the chief of police, Mr. Cole of Albertville at the time. Now, in that article, it also talks a little bit about the sighting that the chief of police of Fyffe actually had too. And as it turns out, I happen to know that guy. I'm pretty good friends with his son. So, and at one of our kids' birthday parties, I got to chat with him. And I asked him about it. I was like, man, so what was your perspective on all this, you know? And he said, well, you know, I think he said at the ball fields one night on patrol, and he saw a craft in the sky, and he said it was super low. You know, he couldn't believe his eyes. He got out to look at it, and you know, it was like hovering right above him. And in his opinion, it was essentially a B-2 stealth bomber because it was triangular in shape. Problem is that it was quiet and hovering. That, that's not what planes do. Now, maybe like what's the thing that Tom DeLonge talks about, like a TR-33B or something like that, like the classic black triangle shaped UFO. It's like a white light on every point of the triangle and then a red one in the center. Maybe. Because the interesting part of that is you know, as he was like dumbfounded by how low it was, he reached on over into the window and turned the spotlight on and shined it up onto the bottom of the craft. And he said as soon as he did that, it turned on its thrusters and jetted off and almost knocked him down. So that does sound like typical propulsion. It's just, I don't know. If anything, it sounds to me like, you know, some proof of us having like back engineered stuff, right? That's how it comes across to me. Why they'd be out there too? I don't know. Maybe like maybe like I said on my last show, the government knew they were there and they were out to clap some alien cheeks too, like me and my homies were at one night after band practice. I don't know. I don't know. Who knows? So that was his story, and it was very interesting. And, he was like, he also confirmed, that Mr. Oliphant had, tips off from people of like where to be able to see some of these events. That's interesting. That's interesting. And he'd mess up the crime scenes and stuff like that. Like the chief of police wasn't really happy about it. He was actually kind of thankful that Ted had passed, which is kind of dark, but whatever, to each their own. No shade. No shade, brother. Um in in the article, the big long one there, he refers to his informant only by the name of Phil, which is interesting. I hear you. Mickey doesn't want to see aliens, Bigfoot, either. Ghosts are enough. I feel you. I feel you. Uh, so Phil, now that I've been refreshed about that, it brings to mind an interesting detail that I would like to see if I can track down. So, as I get into this, you guys are going to hear about my grandfather in law and his connection to all this. And he used to have a schedule of when those helicopters would be there. And guess what the name of his next door neighbor was? Phil. So, maybe. I don't know. I'm going to do some digging on that. But, anyways, so let's get into my side of the actual events. So, obviously, bunch of cattle mutilations are going on. People are seeing UFOs. It starts in like the 80s. Seems to end in, I guess, 93 officially, but it doesn't. Most certainly doesn't. So, all right. These things are in the news. It's being reported everywhere about people seeing UFOs. There's no stigma attached to it. Everybody's talking very openly. And there's even a couple YouTube videos about it. You can find it. It's there. In fact, Fyffe every year has an event called Fyffe UFO Days. And it stands for Unforgettable Family Outing. So they celebrate it, sort of. I mean, just a yeah, never mind. I don't want to throw shade. Yeah, they do that. So, anyways, um, so it's in the news. It's in the news. People are talking about it. And my father-in-law is on his way home from work at night, real late at night. He's coming back from Georgia. And he's almost home, going down a back road, passing by his cousin's house. And he notices in his cousin's field that there's a light out there. And his first thought is, oh no, cousin's combine or tractor or whatever's broke down. I need to go out there and check on him, see if I need to go wake dad up, being a concerned neighbor / family member. Nice. Okay. So he goes out there into the field, and as he gets closer, he realizes, oh no, this is not a tractor. This is one of them UFOs that's been in the news. Well, does that slow him down? No, it does not. And his words to me were, well, how many times in life do you get to see a UFO this close? So let's keep going. Or as I would say, Send it. So he walks right up to the thing, gets right there up at it, puts his hand on it to touch it. And as soon as he touches it, it shoots out a beam of light and hits him in the forehead. And it knocks him out cold. Doesn't wake up until the morning. And he wakes up in the pasture. Super disconcerting. I mean, I know I would not like to have been in that situation and waking up and being like, oh God, what just happened? You know? And I've asked him, I said, have you thought about regression? And he's like, yeah, no. You know, he's got his doctorates in psychology. He knows all about it. And he's like, look, the experience was bad enough. If there's something more, I don't want anything to do with remembering it. I'd say that's understandable. Yeah. Yes, Amy. He was almost Travis Walton. May have been. Who knows? Who knows? So, anyways, so he's freaked out. All right. And instead of going straight home, he goes to his father, you know, and starts explaining what he saw, what had happened. You know, and his dad's concerned, but he's not like nowhere near the level of freaked out that his son wants him to be, right? Like, come on, man, this just happened. Why are you so calm and collected? Well, first of all, living through Korea and all that, that'll do that to you. The man had a lot of PTSD. He'd seen a lot. Anyway, story for a different day. So he's like, well, what am I supposed to do, Dad? You know, what am I supposed to do? He's like, look, I'm sorry that happened to you. I'm going to fix it. Son's like, how on earth could you possibly fix it? Oh, man, I'm so sorry. Hope I'm not getting the coof. That would suck. He's like, yeah, don't worry about it. I'll fix it. Okay. All right. Dad's going to fix it. All right. So, my grandfather-in-law, super important guy. I'm not going to tell you exactly what his position was, just for anonymity's sake, and I don't want no shade. Because it happens. It happens. Trust me. When I came on my very first show with Barton, I had unmarked people show up at my house after everybody in the house left. They didn't do their research. They didn't know that my family are my neighbors. And my uncle called me and he was like, hey, Bubba, there's some unmarked government cars in your driveway right now. I said, what are they doing? Well, one of them is knocking on your front door and the other one's checking your side door, and oh, now they're going to the back or your back door. I'm like, okay. And he's like, well, what do you want me to do about it? Because, you know, he's out there deer hunting. And it's sitting in his camouflage blind. I'm like, I don't know. Shoot him. I mean, that's my attitude on it. He's like, I don't know about that. And he's, you know, he's like, I'll go check on it. And he gets out and he starts walking. They notice him, drive away. Now, if you want to believe that, awesome. That is what happened. But if you don't want to, that's fine. No big deal. But if I'm lying, I'm dying. Anyways, so the grandfather. So important of a guy there. All right. So About to give the title away. Um, so important that he has his own helicopter crew that transports him back and forth between Anniston Army Depot and Redstone Arsenal, and I think to the Air Force Base that I had mentioned there, just like 20 minutes south in Birmingham. So yeah, transports him back and forth multiple times daily between the bases. Important guy. And he says he gonna fix it. And it's in that time that things begin to change. Instead of everybody talking about UFOs, it's all these helicopters now. And, like I said, the guy seemed to have a schedule of when they were going to be out and about doing reconnaissance missions and training. Was going to be on their property a lot, and was. They actually had at least one cattle mutilated that I'm aware of, or cow, sorry, that I'm aware of. I mean, I think there was maybe 3 more in like the whole span of maybe 10 years. And so yeah, he knew. He would even take people out there and show them. Makes me wonder about this Phil character. Good night, Moon. Good night. Thank you for coming. Anyway, so yeah, that happens. That happens. And the chief of police, he even told me, he was like, once the helicopter stuff started going down, the local news would have like little briefings and basically say, hey, everybody, if you see helicopters at night in your fields, they're doing training, please do not shoot at them. So, yeah. It got pretty serious, I mean, shoot, out here in the pasture where I'm at, a UFO touchdown, I talked about that on one of my previous shows. I think in episode 1. I played in that little dead patch of grass when I was a kid. I mean, it affected a lot of people, not just here in Fyffe, but all around the surrounding area. And where, that stuff actually happened to my father-in-law, that was in Dawson, which is just right over there. So I guess the point I'm trying to get across is there's a history. There's a history. Is it aliens? I don't know. I don't particularly believe in aliens necessarily, but maybe. Was the government involved? Yeah. The mad cow disease sounds logical. Sounds like a good way to cover things up. How would these guys be tipped off? How would they be tipped off? Well, we got the Phil character, but they were also there at different times before the Phil character got involved. How? Well, my grandfather-in-law was a very high-ranking Mason. Not to throw shade at them. Not about that. And the partner of Mr. Oliphant was also a Mason. So these tip-offs before the Phil character, how does that happen? I mean, if you want it to be something official, if you want to be, doing everything in your power to make sure you're not calling people at midnight and telling them to stay off the case and stuff like that, you've got to do things in a way that doesn't leave a paper trail. Seems to me like doing that through the lodge is a great way to make all that happen and be able to communicate, get these stories straight. Hey, this is now your official position. You know what I'm saying? Seems very plausible. Is that exactly how it went down? Don't know. Don't know. Not many people left alive that I can ask. Unfortunate. But, sorry. I guess before we move on, is there any questions? You guys got any comments or anything for me? What y'all thinking? Talk to me. Hello, silence, my old friend. I got my UFO stories from Unsolved Mysteries sightings and Art Bell. Never on the local news. Yeah, yeah. Kind of crazy how that ended up happening. Crazy, crazy. Is this story 1 or 2? Freaky asks. This is technically episode 4, but stories number 3. Because the first one was just kind of like a, hey, let's try this out and see if I can handle talking to myself without anybody to like bounce stuff off of. So, and so far, as long as y'all are here and chat, I can handle it so much better because being alone in the silence and my thoughts, oof, it's rough. Oh, you thought I was telling 3. Oh, well, the night's still young. I got time. Where we at? 42 and change? All right. All right. So you guys heard the backstory. You heard some of the official stuff, some of the unofficial stuff. Let's give y'all a treat. Let's tell the main UFO encounter of mine. How about that? But before we do that, let's get into CE5 because I have always been interested in this stuff. I always thought it was really cool. I've always been fascinated in Bigfoot and aliens, and Dogman wasn't really a thing back then, but Loch Ness, stuff like cryptids and aliens. It was awesome. Oh my. And, then I got with my wife and I heard about their stuff that went down with the father-in-law, and I'm just like, whoa, there's so much more to this, so much more. So that got me going down a path that I wish I never would have went down. I was doing research on whatever I could find. Eventually, I come across a podcast on Joe Rogan with Stephen Greer. And he starts talking about CE5, Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. It sounded pretty hippy dippy, new agey. Like when I talk about it or heard about it, it makes me want to get all bendy. Like, I don't know, man. It's a Space Brothers, man. I'm getting bendy. And when he starts talking about his results. Yeah, Mickey's seen it. Yeah, it's been a long time ago. I used to have it saved. I listened to it so many times. And man, I followed that guy's work. And I eventually got his app, and I've looked at several of his videos and stuff like that. And finally, I'm like, you know what? Let's get a little bendy. Let's try it. Let's give this a shot. He's having all kind of results. He's gotten pictures. He's taken the rich and the famous and politicians from all over the world out there and had these experiences. Maybe I can. So I'm like, well, okay, I'm not gonna like go outside, turn on the CE5 app, and get a walkie-talkie, right? I'm not gonna do all that. Yeah, I'm sure he's been on Art Bell a lot. You know, and I will say I do my best to not throw shade at people. I'm pretty loving. But that man, brother, you need some prayers. I see nothing but demons now when I see that man talk. He is not to be trusted. I'll throw a little shade your way. But hey, if you like him, just remember I warned you. Not everybody's slice of spam. Hawaiian. Maybe you want original. Hey, whatever. So, anyway. So I start off small. I pull up one of his YouTube videos. It's basically like a guided meditation type thing. Gosh, I hope I'm not getting the goof. I'm so sorry, y'all. Guided meditation. Talk about how to do it and initiate contact, right? So I give it a shot. I can't remember how long the video was. Maybe between 15 and 25, maybe 30 minutes. I can't remember. This was in the summer of 2014. This was a year after the grandfather-in-law died. And you know, and at that time I'd been, I was in college. I was hanging out outside, having campfires or whatnot, hanging out there on the farm. And I'd see lights up in the sky. I've even shown them to friends of mine. Like I have a friend that's a Marine that is like my best friend. And I know that they have different aircraft. So I was like, if this is something different that I'm not just familiar with, maybe he would know. And he'd be like, oh, yeah, yeah. They make lights like that, when they're that high. And then all of a sudden it would do like a instant right angle. He's like, oh, yeah, no, that would kill you. That's impossible. So, I mean, that stuff was going on too. And I was just like, let's get some answers, right? So try the guided meditation. Give it a shot. And for whatever reason, I don't know how to explain it, but it was easy for me. Essentially, I would call it astral projection. And I didn't have a problem getting it going. However, I felt like I could not leave the atmosphere as I heard, Greer talking, telling you what to do and all this, that. And there's the soothing music in the background. And, like it was just enough of a distraction to keep me held back. I was out there, but I couldn't leave the atmosphere or whatever. Finally, the video ended. I was like, oh, all right, time to go. And then boom, blast off. I'm out of here. I go out into space. And I'm out there, I'm open. I'm like, hey, anybody out here willing to talk? And I find something. I find a UFO. It invites me in. I go and hang out with them. And essentially, I remember a lot of the conversation that I had with this thing. It showed me exactly what it looked like. So there's this, the best way I know to describe it, there's something called a troa dude. It's a like speculative zoology. What would happen if a very intelligent dinosaur was left alone to evolve? It was called a troodon, and the concept they came up with was true, dude, and it looked a lot like it, a lot. Difference was this thing was way taller, probably around the 7 foot or more range. Its skin was like a dark gunmetal gray until you got like to the front of it. Then it was more of like a creamy grayish white. It showed me the difference in morphology between male and female. I want to say that the males had a slightly reddish kind of patch on its throat, but yeah, I mean, it was slightly more built than like a female version of it. I don't know. I don't know. Let's see here. Actually, let's see. Here we go. Let's see how well this can pick it up. That. True, dude. Very similar to that. Almost exact. Yeah. And you know, the weird thing about these things is like the CE5 stuff, like every time I made contact, it was like as if they could control what I was allowed to remember and what I wasn't allowed to remember. I don't know how to explain that. I don't know how to explain why it was easy for me to initiate once I didn't have distractions. I don't know why I felt like a battery during my whole experience and I could feel my energy levels slowly going down. Did I feel like I was tethered to my body? Yes, sorta. I don't know how remote viewers and astral projector people like explain all that. I don't know. It certainly didn't feel like a rope or harness. I mean, it was so much more lighter and ethereal than that. So, I don't know. I'm not the one to talk to about that stuff. I can only describe how I felt in the most rudimentary and redneck kind of ways, I guess you could say. But anyways, so I talked to this thing. And you know, it was very nice, very cordial and polite. I remember it had just an insanely just ominous booming laugh. Like it would find my questions so amusing. I mean, it's very disconcerting. But I mean, at the time I didn't really feel threatened by the thing. He was being pretty nice. You know, I remember asking questions. I asked it about abductions. I'm like, so why do I hear stories that are good and why do I hear stories that are bad about people being abducted? Sometimes people come back and they're like, "Oh, they're my space brothers." And other times I hear about horrible, crazy like experiments and surgeries that happens. I'm like, "What's up with that?" You know, and it was like, well, you know, good and evil is a very primitive concept. It said, what is good for the ant might be bad for the human. And what is good for the human might be bad to the ant. Okay. All right. He's like, you know, you've got to see things in shades of gray. All right. Now, granted, you know, I wasn't the person that I am today during all this. I wasn't really a Christian at that time. I was pretty heavily backslidden, you know. And I was basically like, everything's Anunnaki, everything's aliens. And this definitely reinforced it. But with a little bit of retrospect, you know, looking at it now, shades of gray, you say. Okay. So, how. Okay. So, we hear a lot about like hybridization programs, right? So they've got to abduct people to hybridize with so that they can carry on their genetic lineage. So you've got to go in the dead of night, abduct people. Sometimes it's artificial insemination, but we hear a lot about Concord grapes. Okay. Okay. So you're telling me that as many weird and strange people that are in this world, you couldn't make a news broadcast with all your infinite technology and be like, people of Earth, please help us save our race. We need willing participants for a hybridization program. How many weirdos do we know that would sign up for that? I mean, you'd have to be kicking people out. It'd be happening all the time. Be like, take me, it's clap some alien cheeks. I'm sorry. On Concord Airlines, yeah. Got to keep it YouTube friendly. People get great. People get great. Great Concord grapes. Finger grapes. Let's not keep going on that path. Anyways, so already, I'm sorry. That logic, that don't fly. Sorry, it don't. So that's an example. What else did we talk about? Oh, I asked him about the grays. I was like, how's come there's so much like on both sides of that, positive, negative? What's going on with that? So his words to me were, the grays are nothing more than a biological meat suit. That's his exact words. Direct quote. He said, they are just as likely to be some kind of other alien being broadcast into them as there are a demon being broadcast into them. Okay. So obviously this is not my line of questioning. At least if it was, I don't remember. Okay. So demons exist for you guys. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. And also you guys have the same powers as said demons. Okay, that's really neat. Really neat. Anyways. Okay. All right. I can accept that. Cool. All right. What about God? Do you guys have the concept of God? And he thought this was hilarious. He's like, of course we do. Look at creation. It's all around you. If you can't find God in that, then you're blind. You're doing something wrong. I'm like, awesome. Cool. You know what? On this planet, we had a guy named and I'm fixing to say Jesus. All of a sudden, the demeanor changes. He swishes his hand at me to cut me off. Super mad. He's like, confrontational. Listen, I do not care to hear your theology. So don't even finish. Expression changes. Back to friendly, like, nope, nope. Let's keep up with the act. He said, but I'll leave you with this. If there was somebody that practiced love or preached love above all else, it's probably a good idea to follow that guy. I'm like, oh, okay. So notice truths and half truths. That's good information, right? That's good stuff. But yet you can't stand to hear the name of Jesus. And once again, that is not my line of thinking at the time. But we say it's all connected all the time. This is just further evidence and proof of such. But anyways, let me see, what else can I remember about me asking him? I asked him basically, here's an interesting one. I asked him about, some of the messages that we hear in alien abduction stories. And he told me, all right, he's like, look, you guys are going down a path right now of merging with AI. He's like, that's a terrible mistake. Terrible mistake. Do not do that at all. He said, what you need to do is become the best humans that you possibly can genetically. He said, you guys are blessed with such abundant animal life. He said, you guys need to take some kind of gene editing software and pick and choose some of these best traits that these creatures on your planet have and make them into yourselves. He said, for instance, your muscular cells, you need to have them changed into something like a chimpanzee, at least for your upper body. For your lower body, you should think about something like an antelope or a pronghorn, something that can run all day and all night at a very high rate of speed, never get tired. Change your eyes, get cat eyes, be able to see in the dark. Your sense of smell, change it to like a dog or a wolf. Things like that. So that is the route that you guys should take while you still can. So that's interesting. So what does that make if we did all that? A chimera. A chimera. So there's another little breadcrumb. Not looking good for you, buddy. Not looking good. Let me think if there's anything else. I asked him about different species that I should talk to. I specifically asked about the reptilians. He said reptilians are an interesting group. He said they're very haughty and proud and very, like, personality-wise prickly. Be careful. I said, should I talk to him? He's like, oh yeah, give it a shot. Why not? He said, you should definitely talk with the Mantids. They're very nice. I think you'll like them. He said, avoid the grays. Doesn't matter what's in it or who's in it. Avoid the grays. It's not worth it. And I said, okay, I've got one. I said, what about Anunnaki? He's like, yeah. It's like, I wouldn't recommend it. I don't think that you would like them. I'm like, why not? He's like, just trust me. You probably won't like them. I'm like, okay. All the while thinking to myself, yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to talk to them. You tell me no? Yeah, I'm going to talk to them. Right? So, and I know that the conversation goes on longer. There's a lot that goes on, and I remember such vagueness of it all. Whereas the rest of the stuff, I don't get to talk with much, maybe a half hour at most. So, cool. Battery life runs out. I fall asleep. Wake up the next morning. I remember everything I've just told you. And I'm like, wow, that was cool. But did that really happen? Is it just my imagination? Like I don't have any way of proving it. So, whatever. Well, heck, let's do it again tonight. I want to talk to me some reptilians, right? So, that's what I set out to do. So, that is my intention. And I am specific in who I want to talk to. Because I had recently at that time listened to something called the Lacerda Files. And that sounded super legit. The first one and the second one. The third one, no, stupid. No. Anyways, so I wanted to talk to Lacerda. That was my intent. I don't know how astral projection / remote viewing / whatever the heck you want to call it, CE5. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how it works. But that's my intent. So, start off the same way this time, not with the meditation video because that's distracting as all heck. I can do this. So I get in the swing of things and I do. I'm out there flying around in the atmosphere or whatever. I'm like, all right, Lacerda, that's who I want to talk to. That is where my intentions are. That's who I'm going to talk to. Strangely, I do not keep going up. I go down. I feel like I am going underground. I feel like I am in some kind of a cave system that is lit up. I still have that intent, but I get stopped as I get down there, like by some kind of guardian is what it feels like. I I don't know. But like this being stops me and it's like, what do you want? Who are you? And instead of being able to see everything, it's like reverse black bars, I guess. Like if there's a naughty picture and there's black bars over it. Reverse. I can only see like this portion of its face. I'm like, I want to speak to Lacerda. It hits me. I get pushed back into my body. I wake up. Well, not wake up, but I'm like instantly out. Like, the heck just happened? Well, I ain't taking no for an answer. And I'm still like kind of halfway arguing with myself. Is this my own consciousness? I ain't gonna deny myself. We talking to Lacerda, right? Do it again. Interact with it again. I'm like, and this time I'm like, hey, whoa, 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 whoa. Don't attack. It's cool. It's cool. I'm just wanting to ask some questions. Can I please speak with the being that identified herself as Lacerda? And its response was, fine. I'll go see if she's busy. I'm like, awesome. Fade to black. Fadeness goes away. Same thing. The bars. I see this. Just this. There's another being. Are you Lacerda? Very haughty. Very rude. Mean. Yes, I once identified as that. I said, was that interview that you gave true? Was that you? Her answer was, it was a mistake. It never should have happened. Like, okay. It's like, can I ask you a couple questions? Yes, you can ask me some questions. Now, I do not know how to explain it. I am not able to, or I'm not allowed to remember the conversation. I know that it took place. I know that it lasted for about a half hour, maybe at most. I only remember impressions and one phrase from her. My impression was, first of all, rude, not nice, didn't seem all bad, but seemed just pissed for no reason. I don't understand. And I do remember her calling me a stupid pink hairless monkey. So, yeah, that was Lacerda. I don't know. Don't know. Um, yeah. Interesting talk. Interesting talk, I guess. Wake up after the same situation. Battery drains, or at least it feels like a battery that's draining. Wake up. Awesome. That was neat. Wish I could remember more about that. That's strange. Is this still real? Oh, ain't doing nothing tonight. Let's do it again. Wife's working night shifts. Just me, the outside dog, and the cat. Keep on. So, next one. If I remember correctly, I might have talked to the first one again. Don't remember. But if not, then I wanted to talk to the Mantid. The Mantis thing was very interesting. I can't remember any of it. Not even an insult. Nothing. I remember what it looked like, and I have my impression of it. My impression of it was, wow, that thing was actually really nice. Really nice. It did, however, warn me when I first made contact. I do remember this bit. And it said, before we speak, I'm going to put myself into a form that your brain can handle. Okay. So, all you Hanna-Barbera folks out there, you remember Space Ghost? Zorak, the mantis thing? A lot like that is the form that it took. I imagine maybe that's just because it's, for lack of a better term, digging through my brain to find what it wants. Mickey does. So yeah, it looked like essentially Zorak, but the color was different. So the color was that of Kamacuras, which is a kaiju from Godzilla movies, old Godzilla movies. Giant praying mantis thing. Lots of dark oranges, reds, blacks in its coloration. Orange, like, multifaceted eyes. But yeah, I remember it being very nice. I don't know. I've got a picture here that I found that's close. I can share with you guys. Let's see here. A lot like that. A lot like that. So yeah, cool. I don't remember nothing about it. Just that and just the impression. And that's it. Wake up the next morning after my battery's drained. Oh, that was neat. Weird that I feel like I can't remember things. Why is this being a pattern? Meh. It's all good. I typo just talking, Mickey. So don't worry about it. I'm like, okay, well, that's interesting. What's left? Oh, the Anunnaki. Let's go talk to one of them things. Right? Not supposed to, but yeah, send it. See where this goes. So that's my intent. That is what I am set out to do. If what I actually come in contact with is, I don't know. I don't know. I make contact with a female being. I say, I want to speak with an Anunnaki. Are you that? Yes. Essentially. The difference is I don't, once again, I don't remember much of the conversation. I have a takeaway that actually they refer to themselves as Anuna in the plural sense instead of Anunnaki. And I think the actual translation by Sitchin is that it actually calls them the Anuna gods, and he actually makes it plural as Anunnaki. I don't know. I don't remember. But that is what I'm getting. Okay. Sorry. So, all right. So, like, okay, you guys created us, yeah? Is that your thing? She said, yeah. We created you guys hundreds of thousands of years ago. We are your gods. I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. Little G or big G? Yes, I am your god. Guys, even when I was not the Christian that I am today, I was like not having that. And I'm like, look, I'm willing to grant the fact that you created us. I'm willing to grant the fact that you were worshipped at one point in time, if this is the case, as gods. But you're not the God. Oh no, yes we are. No, 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 no. I'm sorry. No, that's not possible. Sorry. And that is where I can't remember the rest of the conversation other than just being yelled at, screamed at, lectured, and just her just pitching a fit on me. Don't remember. I just remember being yelled at. Not happy. Not happy. She was not very happy. My impression from it when I woke up was, wow, she was a beautiful liar. Beautiful liar. Interestingly, I'll talk about it a little later. I felt a presence one other time in my life that's very similar to the aura, I guess you'd say, of this creature. But yeah, very similar. I've got one picture that I've taken that's reminds me a lot of her. It's not exact, but it captures it pretty good. Very much. Takeaway was she was a beautiful liar. So all the while, I'm like, all right. I'm really starting to question things now. Like, I don't, I can't remember. And that's really bugging me. Now I'm just like, whatever. Probably best that I don't. Right. But then I was like, why? Why can't I remember? Is this my imagination? How could it be my imagination if I can't remember my own imaginings? That's not how imagination works. Is this real? Am I actually having these experiences? At the time, I was like, I don't know. I don't know. How can I know? Well, fortunately, the next night, I have confirmation. Any doubt that I had left, because then I had a physical being show up outside where I was living at. But that is going to be the cliffhanger that I leave y'all with. Bum, bum, bum. Next week, we going to go over that. Now, obviously, if you've seen me on any of my interviews, you know the story. You know the story. But yeah. Let's leave on a cliffhanger. Questioning myself, did this really happen? Is this really real? Then something comes. It lets me know. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Super real. Super real. So, guys, before we get out of here, is there any thoughts, comments? What are y'all thinking? Questions? Don't let me be alone with my thoughts and my silence. What y'all got going on in your head? Let's spend a little bit of time there. I'll give you a minute. Great chance for me to drink some water so I can stop coughing. Dear God. Oh, I'm so sorry. Actually, let me do something real quick. Y'all can still hear me. I see my circles moving. I'm waiting. I know there's a little bit of lag, but truth be told, I'm just so thankful you guys are here. So thankful. It's nice to see people. I can't stand being by myself. When I'm doing the interviews, it's nice to be able to bounce stuff off of Barton, Rob, Paul, Tom. But speaking of that, got a interview going with Tom that's going to be dropping on the Eye of Jupiter. Like and subscribe. Soon, Pamela has the answer to that. Let's see here. She told me earlier. Let's see. September the 13th. Make sure y'all check that out. I think. Let's see here. Pam says, I think they are missing the soul. They want what we received, having a soul. Yeah, maybe. Maybe. I mean, my personal opinion after everything, and this took years of research and truth seeking for me to come to the conclusion that, I don't think that they are what they say they are. I think, lack of a better word, demonic in their nature. Think about the Nephilim. What are demons? They're the disembodied spirits of the Nephilim. They're fallen angels, who made them. It said in the days of Noah, the Nephilim were on the earth, and then also after. Well, there's a running theme all throughout a history of just entities that show up. They have all the same calling cards. Crazy lights, can do all kind of stuff, for lack of a better term, at that point in time, magic, which is something that the fallen angels also taught us how to do. So the things they do, the deeds they commit, remain the same all throughout history. The names and some of the visage changes. Instead of elves, like elves in like the classical Tolkien sense, right? Or instead of the she, as it's pronounced, which is a type of Fey folk, we now have Nordics, Anunnaki. I mean, how many petroglyphs of gray aliens do we got to see all throughout the world, all throughout time? You know, it's, in my personal opinion, after being told what I was told by them of how they share some of the same powers and abilities as what they even refer to as demons, I think that their nature is very similar. Personally, just my opinion. If you don't want to believe that, that's fine. I'm not going to force anything on anybody. I'm just going to tell you what I know. And I'll explain better why I felt that way, because I got confirmation later. So, that is in the future. But that's just me. Like I said, not everybody's slice of spam. What? So yeah, that's my thought. Is there any other questions out there? Anything else rattling anybody's head? Talking to myself again. All right. All right. Silence is killing me. Well, guys, I think that's enough for tonight. As always, my email is there in the description. Questions, comments, feel free to shoot them at me. You want, and once I get all of my stories laid out, I'm gonna start trying to have guests come on. I'm gonna start trying to do roundtable discussions with folks, because that's what I find the most fun. I like that kind of stuff, especially the roundtable. You know, and I don't want to do it just with like the folks that we know. Like, I actually want you guys to come on too. You, the audience, my friends. I want y'all come on. So be thinking about those things. you know? So like I said, shoot me an email. Guys, make sure you like and subscribe. Help a brother out. Let's get this a going. I got some gardening to do. But anyways, need to still come up with a catchphrase. I need to come up with something clever. I haven't quite got there yet. I like my gimmick of Hawaiian shirt so far. I feel like that's cool. Really plays to my personality. But yeah, I'm gonna have to work on that. I got lots of ideas. How to make them happen. Only time will tell us how that works out. But I guess until then, I will just leave you with this for now. Well, two things. One, I love you. And I wish nothing but the best for all of y'all and speak blessings over you. In Jesus' name. Guys, have a great night. Be good. And when in doubt, turkey. Bye.